switch gears a tiny bit? So one of the things that Salem, before I met him, sort of opened my mind was I saw him talking about corals as a holobiome. And the first time I heard that, I was like, okay, Google time. But he explained it in the video. And I think this concept to me was so eye-opening because corals, and Salem, please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this that I'm saying, but that corals are a pretty rudimentary animal with not too many higher functions or abilities. So it's not your concept, but the concept that a coral is an animal that has to work in conjunction with bacterias and possibly funguses and all sorts of other stuff for functions they don't normally have was sort of a new concept for me. Because I just think about corals. Oh, that elegance coral there, and you don't. Well, we to some degree we stopped to think about the symbionts, the what we used to call zooxanthellae, but now what Richard? What did we? Was it just
we call them butt monkeys.
butt monkeys?
Symbiodinium.
Symbiodinium, but with all this aquabiome stuff and all this stuff about trying to understand more about the different bacterias and whatnot in the tank, I sort of feel like that's going to be the future. How far off into the future, I don't know, but understanding more about these bacterias and how to even have them in your aquarium, or how to elevate them over bad bacterias and how they affect the corals. I think this stuff is crazy interesting.
And that's the $1 million question. How do we make it actionable? And I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't have a lot of money to test them. But I've got a lot of ideas.
But here's what grosses me out. It's a fine line. What grosses me out is when people are trying to achieve something to help us to get better, but all they're really trying to do is chase a paycheck. But to me, so here's the fine line. To me, it's fine that they get paid somehow for these endeavors, but it just grosses me out, all these people that come into the industry. Are you having a problem with this? Well, here's your solution. I don't want that. That's marketing bullshit. But I want good, hardcore science. And just like the aquabiome stuff, which I've recently been doing, it doesn't provide you with a whole lot of answers of what to do. But I also think it's in the beginnings of what it can do for us, and sort of uncovering another thing to help us keep an eye on, or things that we could know more about. What if one day we are able to get pelagibacteria and put it in the aquarium? I mean, you cannot buy it right now.
Right now.
All we can do is have Aquabiomics say, oh, your pelagic bacteria is very low. And it's like, well, what can I do about that? Try to get some live rock or from Australia or something like that. But, we can to have actionable answers.
And I think, so that's the thing, right? Is while there are people that are relatively predatory when it comes to this industry in terms of marketing, they will come in, take advantage of people's ignorance and sell them the miracle cure. Vibrant, for instance. Perfect example right there. I think that there's obviously like the most practical way to solve these problems and make them actionable is the market as well. It's ethical market use. So for instance, Aquabiomics, very great tool. It would not be able to exist if it was not a product. Like Eli has to do all the PCR himself, all the extraction, right? Like there needs to be compensation there. So I think that, instead of just saying like, anyone pushing product bad, there should be informed, like it's kind of the same thing, right? I think there should be like a new generation of things that are developed, or existing companies should put their money where their mouth is and have data to substantiate their things. Transparency about what's in the product, how it works, how's the ICP machine calibrated? Like, all of these questions that are not shown to us and we are just, meant to trust the man. I want to see the man behind the curtain. And I think that's what we should be pushing for. And with the relatively small market that we have, eliciting market pressure and selective pressure on companies who do not choose to do those practices, I think is relatively easy. And I think that if new companies begin to form, and they seem to be, right? There's a Hydrospace is like expanding their product line. There's a lot of new up and coming companies that are on this bandwagon of here's what's in it. Here's probably what it does. We're not going to claim it does everything. Try it. And I think that that's probably the future. and out with the old and in with the new. Let's see what happens, and let's have some new products that are good and that are based in that science. A combination of these ideas.
This is why personally, I'm sorry, Richard.
Go ahead.
This is why personally I'm a little more comfortable. This is just me personally, a little more comfortable with the Aquabiomics stuff over ICP. I am still not that comfortable with ICP. It doesn't factor into what I do for a living, and I don't use it much just because, thanks to Richard and some other people helping me understand it better, I just don't see it for what most people see it as. Whereas Aquabiomics, he doesn't have any sort of hidden understanding besides of how complex it is. But if a fool like me can read it and basically understand what he's doing, it's just he's less behind a curtain than ICP stuff is.
Eli's transparent. It's like I asked him, like, hey, what's like your PCR protocol and stuff? Tells me what he does, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just like, here's how I do it. And then if you understand how Illumina sequencing works, which like fucking no one does because it's all proprietary, right? That's magic. But that's the part of it that's an unknown, but it works. I mean, that's what's used in all, like any metagenomics technology, any full genome sequencing, it's all Illumina at this point. Like it's a cutting edge machine that's like $2 million. Like, it's not some plaything that we've maybe calibrated for saltwater use that we bought for 40 grand. Like it's actual academic service that's being provided relatively. So
yeah, I have a thing, but I wanted to, for people who are listening who don't know what happened with Vibrant. Vibrant was a product that was put onto the market 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, and that it was supposed to be, it was built as a reef safe way to rid your tank of unwanted algae, and that it was bacterial based and it was totally safe. And we watched about 50% of the people have problems with it and 50% of the people not have problems with it. And then confirmation bias kicks in, and all we hear about is the people who had good successes with it. And then it turns out that it really is just an algicide repackaged. There was no bacterial component in it at all. So you've got the, did it work or didn't work? And then the straight up untruth about what was in the product. And those two things together are a big batch of a big Rice Krispie treat sheet of no. So anyway, that's just, you can read about Vibrant. They're still around. People still want to use it.
That's the name of the episode.
Crazy.
Rice Krispie sheet of no.
Rice Krispie sheet of no. There was one thing that you said that I squinted at, Salem, which was, you said people should try it and see if it works.
Yeah. That's the big.
I want to say eat a pile of ass. No, because
that's what we said at Eco Aqualizer.
Right. That's the thing. So I've seen so many products come out as, well, just try it and see if it works. And then I'm, anecdote, Ron Schimek. Do you know that name, Ron Schimek?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Ron Schimek was a big name in the hobby for a long time. And he was pretty abrasive, and he knew some stuff, and then he said some crazy stuff like all of us do, right? But what he said about anecdote was something like, anecdote is unqualified people talking about what they think they might see in a system that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree with that. That's
So I wouldn't put it quite that harshly, but any product that says try it and see makes me go, because like you got for KFC or for whatever the feeding concoction is, you got people saying, well, a week later things look better. This was the, in the 2000s, this was the thing that made me insane, when people say, I did this thing and my tank looks better. And it was what does that mean?
There's a direct correlation, clearly.
Yeah, because 2 days later, after putting in C-Lab 28, my corals look better. And you go, what does better mean? And now it gets even fucking worse, right? Because when Sanjay tells me, or most of the, or Jim or you or Ben or, anybody who I know knows things, says I did it and it looked better, I go, I have to listen to that a little bit more, because they have enough experience that better might actually mean something for them.